So we have a little shower enclosure here. We're using our Pave Tool adjustable drain in this shower application. And the nice part about this is we were able to get this drain somewhat set. And we have 1.5 inches of play up and down. And so we can make these final adjustments. In doing so, we want to make sure we get plenty of pitch down into this drain. So we're just going around and we're making sure we're doing so. And we also want to just keep things nice and smooth around here. So I'm just kind of using our Sim 60, making minute adjustments to get that all down to where it needs to be and making all these pieces nice and even. And as we do so, we're getting a little bit high on this drain. So I'm able to take our 9/16 and our socket, and I can put it on here and I can just adjust that right down. If you need to, you can always take a mallet and give it a couple of taps just to help it to get down in. But we want to stay about 1/8 inch below this block, so that way there's no issues down the road with the water getting into that drain. And then we can put our cover back on and we can sweep this in. Another trick is you can tape this off. So as we're sweeping around this area, ideally a painter's tape is nice because it doesn't leave a residue on the surface. We unfortunately do not have painter's tape, so we're going to use just a cloth here. You can just wrap that right around the face. You can put that right in. Voila. Now we have a nice cover over top of our drain. We're able to take our sand now. Put that sand out. This customer chose just a fine sand to sweep into the joints. With the seashell paver and the way that they finish this paver, he had mentioned that they've had some issues with some poly sands in the past, leaving a residue or a funny look on the face. And a lot of times I'll put like a fine dusting over top of these corners, and I'll just take the red end of the mallet and just give it a couple of rattles, and you can see that sand going right down into that joint. Another key is to sweep on a 45-degree angle to your joints. And in doing so, it fills the joints much better. So in situations like this where you're sweeping the material in and it's just disappearing, there's a couple things you can do. In this application, we're using a C33 or a light sand to sweep into the joints, so I can use a little bit of caulking to push that down inside those joints, seal off where we're losing that. If you were using poly sand, you could actually take a little bit of water and put it down in there. You'll see there, we'll get a couple of pieces to hopefully choke that off eventually. You could also use a little bit of adhesive to fill that joint in, but you can see there we're at least able to fill that corner. Now that we got everything all swept in. Again, that same principle of going on that 45, it's going to be helpful to not blow out all your joints. We can now take out this cover. We're all set. Nice. Now that looks nice. How often is it you guys are on the job site, you got pads, the foam on it gets ruined because guys are just doing this, right? They're taking it, throwing it down in, things are getting ripped, things are getting trashed. That's why we have the pad covers. So the pad covers, magnetic, pull them off, keeps the pad nice and safe, and it also has the right depth because as you know, you put pressure down on this pad, eventually it does collapse a little bit. So with this here, it keeps it off the right amount. You put those over, boom, magnets down on, keeps those pads safe, and we're able to keep our job site rolling Not having to go to pavetool.com and order more foam just for the project. Take that pad cover off, put our new pad on, we're off and running. Pad covers can get set off to the side. If you get our bar box, magnets right to the side, you'll never lose them. So out on the project here, we're going to be doing some artificial turf, and there's a couple things I just want to point out. We're using the same base system as our pavers, so number 8 stone, keeping it down about a 1/2 inch. We're going to sweep this in with sand, and you're going to see there's a couple red marks going down through here, and the reason why I have those red marks is we used our Quickie hybrid edging, and our hybrid edging has a little area where we are allowed to drive a stake in. So you can see here, every time there's a flip-up tab on our edge restraint, there's a little hole, and we know that that is 2 inches or 1 3/4 of an inch off of the edge of the paver where the red marks are. So we went down through prior so we can get this staked out, and ideally you want to stake sod every 8 to 10 inches or so. So we made those marks and we're ready to go. And the other thing is, as we're rolling this out, we want to make sure we keep this nice and tight up against that edge or consistent across that edge, and it's important to do that so you're not trying to adjust things. Once you get this large mat rolled out, you end up with a lot of wrinkles. So we're going to get this right to this edge, which we are now, and we're going to get going and rolling this out. So now we got it all rolled out. Now we just take a razor blade, we go through along the edges, get it all cut in. But what we're going to do is start up the front side. We're going to stake it in a couple spots, keep pulling it tight using some sandbags, and get this nice and taut, and we'll keep nailing down through here. Yeah, so there's a slight angle on this board coming across here, so we obviously hit our high point with the turf, but we have to cut the rest of it. And I made a little knife mark, cut mark in the turf where it needs to be. So now I can just take my knife along here, a nice sharp blade, along there. All right, all that, it's perfect. Okay, you can see we got some stakes in here, and what we'll do now, as we're getting this all set, we'll pull back some of this grass. We'll start putting in these spikes, and we can even leave them up just a little bit so remember where we put them for now as we're getting started. Like I said before, every 8 to 10 inches is really a good practice. And especially on this top edge where we're going to be pulling against it, to have a couple extras, a good idea. See here as I'm going down through, all right, getting this to just lay down right where it needs to up against that edge tight. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll take it like that and use what I'm cutting against as my straight edge to do so. All right. And you can do this a couple different ways. You know that this edge is nice and straight along here. What you can do, get yourself to that corner, know exactly where you want to make a mark. You do that. Okay, we'll go down through here. We'll pull back this just a hair. And now I got a 4-foot level here, so what we can do is we can go every about 4 feet or so, make a mark, pull it back a little bit. Okay, and then we can connect our dots. So we know that this is our slit there. That's our slit there. Line those up. All right. Slit there. Slit there. Okay. And look at that. Huh? Now that we've gotten some of this here done, it'll be good to go back through, right, and get a couple stakes in it. So flip back that. Another trick you can do is take our bags of sand, and as you're pulling it tight, getting all those wrinkles out of it, right, you can throw a bag of sand on it. That's going to help it stay nice and taut. We made those red marks down through here so we can drive that stake in. And we said we had to be back 1 3/4 inches. So a little trick here that we can do is we can take this, we can make a mark at 1 3/4 inches back, and we can use that every time we have one of these to drive the stake. And again, we try to find where that's right there. Good here. This HD hybrid edging has the open grade stake on it, which is awesome because that's going to allow us to have support across the edges, whereas if we were to use some kind of a concrete edging, you wouldn't have any support, and you would eventually see this sod, or artificial turf I should say, curl up because it didn't have the support it needed against that edge. Alrighty, so we're wrapping up here at our project. We're putting everything back into our bar box and getting everything cleaned up, strapping it down. We used it in the back of the truck there just on the final day because we didn't have a machine to unload and reload up. But come on, let's come back and I'll show you what we got going on. So we're using a 16 by 24 paver from US Paverscapes. It has seashells embedded in it, looks absolutely gorgeous. We just finished off blowing the patio. The homeowner is going to clean and then protect this surface of the pavers. He says it brings the color of the pavers back out, so I'm really excited to see what that looks like. But we put our artificial turf down today, got that all wrapped up, staked it in, swept it in with a sand, and so that'll be a good spot for the kids to play, dogs to go to the bathroom and whatnot. We'll be putting a fence along the side on top of the wall, and then obviously as we go back through the project there, we have the final spot of the shower enclosure. So we'll be enclosing that in. We got our pipes run up. His plumber will come back and get that all plumbed up with the shower head, and they just have a shower enclosure that will go around here that's essentially freestanding. And if you remember, we poured concrete in here if they need to use those concrete pads to mount some tap cons down into. We also have our Pave Tool drain, floor drain. What a classy, nice look that is on the patio. So that's really just a wrap here. Everything's all cleaned up. We're organizing the job site, leaving it better than when we came. If you remember when we came, we had a lot of stuff all over and a disaster. We try to clean that up, keep that customer super happy. That's key. So Looking forward to seeing you guys on the next project we do.
You can sign up for our tip of the week here.
You can watch more of our videos here.
You can subscribe to our YouTube channel here.
And make sure you shop our products at pavetool.com.
If you're located in Canada, you can shop at pavetool.ca.
Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching. Looking forward to seeing you next Friday.